about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
Strand Podcast.
Do you believe in aliens or UFOs?
I do now. I definitely do now.
Strand Podcast.
Everybody, welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Oh yeah. Hope you guys are having an amazing day as much as I am. You know, it's been raining down here in South Texas, like a lot. Yeah, so I just decided to get out a podcast, get it out to as many people as possible. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go get one out today. And, because I think it's important, to get some information out of UFO news. And that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is a little bit of UFO news and what's going on with disclosure today. Just to kind of give a little bit of brushing up of what people just kind of think of what extraterrestrials are or what they're not, right? And it has a lot of course, conflicting evidence of both sides, and just a lot of things get in the way of disclosure. Of course, Big Brother has been blocking that for such a long time. Then all of a sudden they're saying, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get it out now, right? And that's what they do. And that's what they decided to do, which is great. That was like one big giant leap for mankind, right? And that's what they did for us in the ufology community, yeah. And, of course, you're listening to Alien Strand Podcast. I'm Donald Ledesma, and, you can catch me all over the place. You can catch the films, the middle, of course. I throw that out there to you guys, so they're still floating out there, man. The middle part 1, the middle part 2, the middle part 3. Go check those out on Amazon Prime or Tubi TV for free. Or Roku TV. Yes. Oh, I actually did a podcast with this podcaster. His name's Mr. Daniel Jackson. So I did an episode with him. I was a guest on his show, and I believe you could catch that on Fire TV applications and Roku app. I think it's called realitytv.com. And you can go look for that podcast there, Mr. Daniel Jackson. And I did a 3-episode series with him. And we talk about a lot of different stuff. So he's into spirituality, things like that, the brain, of your soul, frequencies, things like that. And that's what he is about. And when we got into the conversation with UFOs, actually, I was one of the first people not first, but one of the really interesting people that he got to speak with about ufology, right? Because what I gave him, all the information I gave him, he was just so blown away of everything that I know about ufology, UFOs, UAPs, and the contact, right? The contact that people have with these craft and what happens to them afterwards as well, right? So we were able to do an amazing podcast on that, and I had a great time there. But I'll put out a link once we know where this when the podcast actually comes out. He already put the trailers out for it, which looks really, really good. And it was a great topic and topics that we talked about. We talked about everything, and you can actually see it on your TV, right, off your Roku TV or your Fire TV, right? So I'll put the link on to his show there on this podcast, so you can look for it there as it comes out. And it's really, really something interesting that we were able to dive into, right? Don't forget to catch us on Patreon. Go join for free there. Of course, this podcast will be there as well. And I got the new shirts. They're already coming in this. Actually, Friday, I'll be having the new shirts, and I'll start giving them away next week to people who are paid subscribers. Yes, one lucky winner will get one per week, and I'm just gonna pick your name, and you'll get one. And of course, I'll get your address, everything like that, and I'll send you a T-shirt. Just saying thank you for joining Patreon and listening to Alien Strand. Yes, thank you guys. And thank you for everybody else that's listening out there tonight or today. Truck drivers that are on the road, just listening to the show as you go across the country. Thank you for doing what you do and bringing all the goodies to our stores and everything that we need, fuel, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Yes, you all bring everything that we need. I mean, everything at Walmart, basically, right? Target or wherever you guys buy your food or whatever. But anyway, thank you, truck drivers out there. I really appreciate you guys out there that are doing everything for us. Yes. Also, thank you for everybody that's listening in different countries. I really appreciate you guys. Please give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe if you like this podcast. And, I'm going to get some more out to you guys. Right? I'll actually have a video podcast coming out this weekend as well. Yeah, finally. Yeah, I have so much video footage, man. I said, you know what? I got to get this podcast out there. Too many people waiting. I guess they want to see me, right? Nah, I don't think so. I think they just want to see the cool stuff that I have. And, of course, hey, what more can I bring to the forefront is to bring you the evidence. Like I said, I'm not here to make you decide. That's all up to you. I just give you the evidence as it comes to me. And at the very end, it's up to you to decide whether you believe in UFOs, extraterrestrials, aliens, Bigfoot, spirits, or anything like that. It's good to have an open mind, right? Always keep an open mind, and it helps you go a long way. And having really good positivity in your thinking, right? Always think positive, man. Even if you're having a bad day, just think positive. Start your day with a nice positive thought. And that will generate through the universe, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever. It'll float out there, and you'll start getting positive responses in return. And it does work that way. It sure does. So, just keep a good open mind and think positive, especially when listening to the show. And that way you can start soaking it up like a sponge. all the information that I have for you guys. All right. Well, today, I was going to talk a little bit about Disclosure Day. Yeah, Steven Spielberg. How about that? Now, I'm not going to spoil it for you because I haven't seen the film. No, I'm just going to go this weekend. It's already been out for a few days now, maybe 3-4 days now. And I'll say, I'm going to wait till the crowds kind of simmer down a little bit, and I'll go catch it, in a nice theater, a big screen. I want to check it out for myself. And, I've been hearing a lot of good compliments from it. There's good and bad. But, I don't want to, when I start seeing people talking about the spoilers and stuff, I change it because I don't want to know, right? I don't want people to spoil it for me, especially because I haven't seen it. Come on. I'm not going to do that to you here today. But of course, we're going to talk about one of the biggest UFO stories, of course, is here in 2026 with Steven Spielberg, or for the new film Disclosure Day, and they released it here June 12th, right? And it kind of came out the same exact moment that the United States government decided to say, you know what, we're gonna release a whole batch of UFO and UAP files to the public. Why is that? Do you ever guess about that? I started thinking about that a little bit here and there, but I always thought, man, that's just so strange how the timing was a little too close for comfort, right? So, the timing did spark a lot of discussion, of course. There were plenty of researchers, skeptics, people that are experiencers, and religious communities around the world, right? So they were all talking about this film and how it would affect. Now, is it a coincidence, or is it a cultural preparation of some sort, right? Are they getting us ready for something, or are we witnessing maybe something beginning, right, of something from human history, right? It's just something that's going to be like a new chapter. I don't know, maybe. But we're going to explore the movie just a little bit, and the release of the film and the questions of humanity, right, that we've been asking for thousands of years. Where do we come from? What is the meaning of everything? Or it's just like the funny film, the meaning of life, right? But we always, we try to comprehend what our mind allows us to comprehend with disclosure or UFOs or UAPs, right? And and it's that the film actually centers the Disclosure Day film. It centers on whistleblowers, right, and how they're uncovering the evidence of the alien cover up, right. Of course, that has to do with the government and the phenomenon that's been going across the society, across the world, really, in reality. I mean, I made 3 films from it, going on a 4th, and these are just standard people like you and I who are experiencers in this phenomenon, right? So in this movie, it kind of explores the government secrecy of it, and it gives, of course, a little bit of disclosure, faith, and then it kind of what I was reading about it, that it might have an impact on first contact. In other words, remember how I always say, well, we'll really freak out when if a saucer lands in front of their freaking White House, right, or anywhere in a giant public place, right? Now, that would be the shock factor, really, in reality, if something like that were to happen. So, and this was one of the biggest films that has come out in decades, right? So, especially since Close Encounters. When I first saw Close Encounters, man, my jaw just hit the ground. Of course, I was already into ufology, but I was just a kid because I had already witnessed it. And when I saw the special effects and everything in that film, it just brought so much of, I don't know, like your brain just, the imagination just goes crazy thinking about how or why, or is this the way it happens? And as a kid, when I watched that movie over and over and over at the theater. I would go back and go see it again, and go back and see it again. And it was just because I was intrigued by the UFOs in the film and how they came out and exposed themselves to everyone. Because really, in reality, that's what the whole film is about, right? These UFO crafts, and it even showed orbs, like the red orb, as well, flying behind these 3 really bright and fluorescent-looking UFOs in the film. If you remember, where they were going across the highway, or the little boy standing in the middle of the highway, and these 3 UFO craft go by, right? And at the very end, you see a little orb just pass them up as well. Now, that is what we see normally in our skies as well. But this was in 1976, something like that, when the film came out, or around that era, that he put that in the film. How would he know, right? And of course, he did E.T., and that was of someone that actually got close to an extraterrestrial. and wanted to help it go back home, right? Well, we all know that film and how it turns out at the very end, but it was all about contact, right? Both of those films were about contact in a sci-fi kind of way, right? And all these films, had really major blockbusters, had major breakthroughs in ufology as well, and people discussed these things for many years, and people just wouldn't stop talking about it, even today, right? Even before his film came out. So now, if you have a, I don't know, Paramount or Peacock or anything like that, you're going to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind pop out, right? And it's going to pop out because it's popularized now even more because people wanted to see where this all started from. And just the coincidence of Steven Spielberg and these new UFO files is what brings everything to a different level. But before we get going, let's go ahead and take a real quick commercial break. We'll be back after this message.
Static screen, blue glow on my face, redacted pages all over the place. They said weather balloon over grainy tape, but the farmer found glass in a perfect shape. Desert sand turned to glass in a silent flash. Man in suits at his door, talking fast, talking trash. Tell me what you're hiding in the sky. Hold me in all these years of looking up at
Alien Strand Podcast.
open the closure. Tell me what you're hiding in the sky. Flight logs missing, radar goes blind.
All right, welcome back to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Going to talk about some good stuff today, that's for sure. Sure to give us a thumbs up, some likes there. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Go to all my links after this podcast. You'll see a lot of good stuff there as well. All right, so we were talking a little bit about how the new UFO files were already out, right? And how they kind of coincide with Mr. Spielberg here, right? And how it's like, okay, wait a minute, how does that happen? You know, how did that come to pass? Just like, did they know, or did they say, okay, Spielberg, you can go ahead and release your film because we're going to do this at the same time, and we want to make sure that everybody kind of gets it, right? Maybe. So the latest release of these dozens of declassified reports. They were classified, but there were videos, eyewitness statements, and there was a lot of imagery, right? Of glowing orbs, a lot of aerial objects, unexplained encounters, and a lot of these documents came from agencies from the Pentagon, really, in reality, right? The FBI, CIA, all kinds of intelligence organizations. So there wasn't just from one entity; it came from different entities of all this information, right? And and some of these reports where they talked about red glowing spheres. What did we just talk about here with Mr. Spielberg? Red glowing sphere. That's what he had, a sphere at the very end. So. And also they talked about white plasma-like lights, multiple orbs maneuvering together. Also, there was like a lot of hovering luminous objects we see that a lot. We do see that a lot. Like, it's just hovering there. It's luminous. You can't really tell what it is. You can't tell it's a craft because it's so bright. This was also reported in these intelligence agencies, right? So they said they had like shape-shifting aerial phenomena as well, right? So we don't have anything like this that can do this, or do we, right? And maybe a lot of this started coming together because they just said, well, maybe it's time to get this stuff out to the public. And, you know, the government said, you know what, let's just go ahead and get some of this transparency out, and let's just see if we can get some more information off these UAP records. And I think remember all these committee hearings that they were having on UAPs and UFOs? I think that helped a lot. I think that opened a lot of ears and eyes to the phenomena, and just to kind of say, hey man, I mean, what difference does it make if you guys have the information? I mean, more of us citizens, ufologists out here, or regular standard citizens, are taking more videos and photos and having more encounters than ever before, right? So I think I'm sure there's 10 to 100 times overfold over their files, right, that they released. Guaranteed. I'm going to tell you that right now. So, I mean, it's like me having 10 pennies and you only have one, right? So we already know about a lot of this. So why not just go ahead and release it? And that's exactly what they did. You know, and the timing was, I think for them, was a little impossible to ignore, because they knew that Spielberg was going to come out with this film, right? And all of a sudden the government releases these unexplained objects, these records, and of course the public is starting to focus more on UFOs than anything before, right? And they've discussed a lot of extraterrestrial possibilities. Of course, Joe Rogan's been talking about it for years. He's fully intrigued, and he's been pulled in for a good while now. He said at the beginning that he didn't believe in it. He thought everybody was full of crap. But after speaking with a lot of people, especially Bob Lazar, that gentleman threw him in a different mindset. And he told him things that, of course, he didn't say on the show to him, but he kind of just said things that nobody would really know. And I believe it opened his eyes to why we're seeing what we're seeing. And he was able to put two and two together pretty much. So I think, me personally, I'm thinking Joe Rogan was pulled in and then was able to start believing in ufology, right? Or extraterrestrials. Why not, right? He's a pretty open-minded dude, right? He's got a lot of topics about, you know, of course, politics, left and right, but he talks about everything. He'll talk about people that are in the Bronx. He'll talk about just the fun. He'll talk to comedians all day long, and they'll have just different conversations about everything, not just UFOs and things like that. Now, he'll go on a tangent every once in a while on UFOs, and he'll just do UFOs for about a month straight, right? With just people straight up with UFOs. Now, I don't know about you, but my feeds, that's all that comes out of my feeds now. Of course, because I'm into ufology and that's all I ever look at, right? But I don't know if y'all's feeds are like that, but I just think that there's an overwhelming amount of information now, and it's being oversaturated, to tell you the truth. And I think they should just kind of back off just a little bit on just how to present the information and how much information to bring out to people. And of course, there's a lot of podcasters out there, and there's a lot of people that are out there that are on their TikToks and things like that, putting out videos and things that I know personally that a lot of those are AI or whatever, and you know, they're still doing it for clicks and clickbait, whatever, which is fine. That's their prerogative. But we're after the truth, right? I'm after the real stories, and I'm after the real people that have been experiencers. So we have an article here. I'm going to read to you real quick. This is from The Guardian, right? The latest U.S. release of UFO files released strange lights, but a few hard facts, right? A possible UFO sighting over a busy southern African airport, and yet more mysterious glowing orbs in the sky above the U.S. features in the latest batch of previously classified documents released by the Pentagon on Friday. And it stated a quest for transparency amid the irrepressible debate about the chances of extraterrestrial life. Oh, okay. In keeping the first two document drops of the government papers last month, Friday's tranche of more than 50 files contains no proof that the tantalizing videos of written accounts of possible alien encounters or anything of perception, of vivid imagination, or conspiracy theories. Despite the assurance of the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that the release demonstrates the Trump administration earnest commitment to unprecedented transparency, the Pentagon repeats that the disclaimer that everything contained in the hundreds of files so far are unsolved cases. Are they? The government is unable to make any definitive determination on the nature of the observation of the phenomenon, it states. The release of future plenty of black and white murk, but nothing that looks even a little like an alien spacecraft. Adam Kirch is a senior editor at The Atlantic, wrote the drilling last month in a column entitled "The Truth is Still Out There." Friday, the batch includes reports of strange glowing orbs hovering over the unidentified northeastern United States city in 2025 and 2026 that is picked by the FBI's interest enough to dispatch two agent investigators to the interview witnesses who reported fast-moving red and white objects. One of the witnesses, according to the FBI report, stated he had always been interested in the topic of UAP, and in 1987 claimed to have seen red flashing lights in the sky, like in front of the kit, like the show Kit from the TV show Knight Rider. Okay, he says so. There's just a lot of people in this big old report that where you're going to get a lot of stories out of the declassification of unsolved cases. Basically, it's what we got. We got batches of it, and I believe I'm going to throw a lot of Patreon. It's like 1 gig of information, and another one's going to be like 2 gigs of videos, and one's like maybe 780 kilobytes of documents, right? There's a lot of documents in there. I opened them up, I downloaded them, and I saw there's a whole bunch. So, when comparing these released documents, and we're looking at the similarities, right, to the hidden information, so around the film as well. So it centers around the knowledge of classified information, right? So in other words, the government had classified information. Now they're starting to release it, and the real world files. I'm sorry, involve us in unreleased government records and reports. So we want that information, but they still hold that back somewhat. So in the next similarity of the film and the government is that the government releases like on this second one, they talked about more of the feature orb type phenomenon than the saucer. So they talk about the glowing spheres, the luminous objects, right? And these are, people are starting to see more and more hundreds and hundreds of these orbs, and they're starting to make more reports of them. Are these orbs like these spheres, right? They of course the burger sphere or whatever in Colombia, right? Now it's in Mexico. It could be part of that. I don't know. I didn't see that one glowing pretty much, but I mean, it kind of looks just like it, right? And of course, in the film, the new film, you're going to see that kind of stuff in there as well. So, and the similarity of the public reaction to the film and to what's happening here today is both the film and the real world disclosures are disclosures. We always focus on the spacecraft, and we never focus on the humanity of the reaction, right? Of the reaction of what's piloting these things. And I always talk about that over and over. You know, are aliens real? But the real question, you know, to all of us is, even if we did, is what happens to society when everyone knows, right? In other words, what if somebody says, okay, yeah, aliens are real. We all get to see it. We all get to focus on that. And what comes next? So, of course, like you and I, we're going to be focusing on more on the answers of where did it all come from? Where did it start? What civilizations were here before us, right? And those are the questions that I'd be asking. I would be asking more of our historical questions than more of our future. And that's just me personally. And it just kind of throws a monkey wrench in religion, in a sense, in a way, but not fully, because if you're not open-minded, you're going to think totally differently of what these things are, what they're not, or if they're real or they're not, right? Or are they spiritual, or they're able to manifest themselves, but they're in flesh, right? They're not. These things are manifesting in a solid form. This is why I see these things as totally different than a spiritual realm or an interdimensional, like people talk about. It's because we see them more in a solid form. They're in our dimension. Yeah, they are maybe when they say interdimensional because they can travel in and out, but when they're in ours, they're in a solid form, right? So you can actually see the extraterrestrial. You can witness the extraterrestrial. You can witness the craft as it lands. You can see the implants of the feet of the craft as it touches down, right? Just the indention or the burn marks on the grass, right? It's real. It's hot, right? It leaves radiation sickness. These are the things that I see it's more real than it's spiritual. So to me, it does go together in a sense to where, well, what if the universe made more things other than us, right? And or God, you know, it's the possibility is endless, really, in reality. Those thought processes always come through our minds of what we think is out there when we really think about it, or what's not really out there, right? Some people just believe that consciousness is what you have now, and you close your eyes and that's it. It's darkness. You're done, right? And a lot of different people believe that your spirit travels through the universe, right? Travels over and over, comes back, reincarnates itself. You know, it's endless, right? And we always move towards the body being more spiritual for contact, right? And because it is, we resonate within the earth. We're made of all these elements of the earth. I talked about it last podcast, and we all exist, and we come from the stars. In reality, we're all made from the same matter. So this is why it could affect religion in a sense if this disclosure were to actually become a full reality it would blow so many people away. They wouldn't know what to think. All right, before we get forward, let's go ahead and take a real quick break. We'll be back after these messages.
Wind in my ears, flute in the dark, chimes on a string, something watching.
Alien Strand Podcast.
I swear I saw windows eyes behind the vapor and rain. I blink and it's normal, but it never feels the same. Clouds full of secrets, hiding in the white and gray. They wait till we're sleeping to pull us through the Milky Way. If I wake up screaming, will they let me keep my name? Clouds full of secrets and nothing will look the same. Oh.
All right, welcome back to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed today's Alien Strand podcast. We're diving deep a little bit into Steven Spielberg and Disclosure, how the government kind of had major similarities in their thought processes of bringing this film to life, right? And as they brought the film to life, they released a lot of documents, and how it coincides with, of course, that was the last topic I was talking about, religion, right? And how it could affect a lot of people in religion, right? And just kind of put them in a different, let's just say, mindset of beliefs, right? But it's not going to really take it away. It's not going to, because I mean, like I said before in my last podcast, I still hold on to my faith. I'm good. Right. But at the same time, I look into the open concept of being open-minded and to know, it's just because it's so intriguing to me of what's out there. Right. And what are these things and what they want. Right. And believe me, I mean, I talk about it all the time that, if I saw an alien or extraterrestrial, that I'd probably run the other way, because I don't know which one I'm going to get. But at the same time, I would probably just kind of stop, turn around, and see if I can ask some questions, right? Because that's just me. That's what I want to know, right? Or even if they could tap into my psyche somehow and just kind of, fill me full of information, so that way I can say, all right, now I know. Now I'm good, right? My soul is filled with the answers I was looking for. But that's just me personally, right? All right, so we were talking about how the religion factors of disclosure could affect, right? And there's a lot of surveys out there that believers would not abandon their faith because if there's intelligent life discovered. They say that it kind of argues with the thought process of extraterrestrial life could exist, right, without contradicting any of their, let's just say, spiritual beliefs, right? In other words, life is life, right? If you were to look at it that way, life is life. That's all these religious beliefs believe in, is life, having a good life, believing in whatever, even if it takes a special person or something to pull your soul or your spirit, or however you want to call it, to put you in the right direction or to think positive. And if there's something there for you to look positive after and at, and if it makes you a better person, hey, go for it. That's why not, right? But life is life wherever it comes from. There's extraterrestrial life, there's human life, there's all kinds of life, right? So, and the Vatican also, they discussed it a little bit. They've been discussing it for a few years about extraterrestrial life. And they just kind of say it this way, if God created the universe containing hundreds and billions of stars, potentially trillions of planets, right? Why would life just exist only on Earth? That's a true statement, right? Because it shouldn't take you away from your faith, because there's other things beyond, right? And the faith, all it does, it keeps you in order. It keeps your mind and soul in the connection in a stronger order, right? And it makes you connect with other humans, right? As good people, right? So, and that's how you have to look at it sometimes. But when the religious factors come into effect with the disclosure, well, yeah, they bring back a lot of the old textbook religious books, right? Let's just say like the Book of Enoch, how we talked about last week. It discusses a lot of the ancient texts, right? And it describes, of course, that beings were descending from the heavens and interacting with humanity, right? So that was the main subject behind the Book of Enoch. And some people interpret them as like accounts, like these were like literally accounts that happened. And others kind of interpret those things as spiritual experiences, right? And it can actually be both, right? It can kind of represent like an ancient encounter of some sort, or maybe with a non-human intelligence, maybe, right? It could have been that way. But then the Earth could have been just a totally different place back then. Like a totally different civilization, and I've talked about that too, how that maybe these civilizations were here thousands and millions of years before we were here, right? And maybe they left, maybe they came back. Who knows, right? But a lot of these mainstream scholars, or whatever you want to call them, when they look at the Book of Enoch, they just kind of look at it as, they look at the passages and they look at that historical religious, let's just say the context of these pages of these books, and a lot of them kind of look at it more than evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. So, and then there's a lot of people that look at it as more of a spiritual side, which is nothing wrong with that either, right? It can go both ways, really, in reality, to me personally. And like I said, what if extraterrestrials aren't extraterrestrials like we think they are? Maybe it's something different. We just call them that. What are extraterrestrials, really, in reality? And there are several possibilities of what extraterrestrials are. And of course, there's a classic explanation of that they are biological visitors, right? Advanced civilizations evolve from distant planets to develop our technologies, right? And they're capable of interstellar travel. We always talk about that theory. And of course, the other one that I talked about, where there were interdimensional beings, right? It says that, maybe some of these researchers, they believe that UFOs are traveling through space, right? They're not traveling through space, but they're traveling through dimensions, right? And of course, they have these appearances, right, in our bedrooms or in our dreams or things like that, right, where they're almost like, well, I talked about it before, like they walk with the dead, right? They can walk in that dimension with these spirits. And this is why a lot of people can, it can kind of explain why these things they appear, they disappear, and then of course they're UFOs or whatever, the craft, they have like different and unusual flight characteristics, right? In other words, they defy the law of gravity, really, in reality, in ways that we cannot explain. So then I talked about this in one of my podcasts, ultra terrestrials. We know what that is, right? So thinking that there was an advanced civilization here on Earth a long time ago, but they remain hidden, like in our seas, in our oceans, under the ground, in caves or in volcanoes, that they're just sitting there watching us and kind of guiding us through technology, giving us a vehicle every once in a while to, of course, Big Brother. And so our technology can advance forward instead of being stuck to where we're at in this period of time. And of course, there's another theory that they are spiritual intelligence, right? Which we see a lot of these people that are on Facebook or anywhere on the interweb, like my friend says, that they speak to these galactic federations and they speak to them telepathically through traveling, right? And where they can concentrate and see things from the future, the past, or they're communicating with these beings one by one, and they're giving them all this information, right? These are spiritual intelligence, right? In other words, they have more consciousness. They're like more consciousness-based entities, really, in reality. And they're more beyond our physical reality, which makes them extremely advanced. And, the information that they hold is something that beyond our comprehension of life and what lives and exists beyond our soul, right? So, and this is what a lot of people still follow that theory as well. That's a theory. And then some at the very end, it's just people think it's just a natural phenomenon, right? People think it's just atmospheric plasma that people just don't understand, right? Swamp gas. It's swamp gas, right? That's what they talked about back in the day, right? And, unfortunately, no, it's not swamp gas. We already know that that's not the case. But in really reality, are we reaching and are we approaching disclosure? This word disclosure we talk about all the time. It means different things to different people. It does. For some, disclosure means government admission of extraterrestrial visitation. What? Yeah, right. We've been waiting for that for a while. And for others, disclosure means transparency regarding the unexplained phenomena. I think those kind of go hand in hand, to tell you the truth. And but are they going to be releasing more of these public records? And my thing, has everybody actually sat there and read each one of those and gone through them? Who has the time to do that, right? Maybe somebody that's retired can probably do that and probably can get a lot of information from it, but they're all the reports that they released were just kind of like they couldn't figure out what it was. So they just decided to give it to us and let us figure it out. Basically, I think that's what happened. Of course, we talk about this in the public discussion forums more than anything else about these glowing UFOs. And, of course, we're going to get it all stigmatized over and over and over. Will this water, this choppy water, simmer down. Right now, it's just waves hitting, wave after wave after wave hitting the coastline, right? And of information on extraterrestrials. But eventually, this thing's going to stop, right? And then we got to figure out from there, okay, where do we go next? If we don't get the answers we're looking for, and I think that, me personally, I think Big Brother is going to go around the main subject for a good while. Because even if they did have something like that, it's of national security, man. It is what it is. If you have something that powerful, it's something of national security. It has everything to do with the protection of your country, right? Wherever country you live in, right? And that information cannot get to the next one because why? They're afraid of domination. That's what will happen if he who controls the power controls the world. All right? That's just the way it is. Almost like the money thing. Who has the most money control the world, right? But in this sense, it's energy and power. What I mean by power, I mean energy-wise. Like, these crafts have something that's powering them that could change our revolutionary way of functioning in a human society in daily life, right? In other words, electricity, everything will change if we got a hold of something like that. But at the same time, if it's too much power, then somebody could make something out of it. In other words, something nuclear, right? Something bad. Now, we don't have a bunch of good people, unfortunately, around the world. There's a lot of bad guys out there, a lot of bad people that want to do bad things to a lot of people. So this is why, and this is what is going to keep the full disclosure, me personally, away from humanity, right? Because it's something that should not be shared fully. Even if they did have a craft, you know, they'll probably talk about extraterrestrials, and yes, they exist. And by the time we find out about what kind of technology we have, they're probably going to wait as long as Roswell people from 1947. They're all dead now. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Roswell. So what are they going to do in the next one, right? In 100 years from now, when we're all dead, they'll talk about this, right? Then they'll bring out some more information. And then what comes next? Another 100 years. We'll talk about that disclosure episode, right? And I think that's pretty much how it's going to go, unless something catastrophic happens and humanity decides to take a awful wild turn against each other, and something goes very badly. And that's the only way that will end abruptly. And if we no disclosure, I think we're just going to have to find out for ourselves, really, in reality. We'll get bits and pieces, but I don't think we'll ever get the full enchilada, like they say, on the information, right? So now the disclosure day is out there, and it has reached hundreds of thousands of theaters, right? Now it's out there for public domain, for people to look at it, and for humanity to find out from this film. And they ask these ancient questions, once again. Who are we? Are we alone? What is consciousness? and what lies beyond our world, really reality. And I think that the biggest discovery out of all of this, I don't think it will be finding extraterrestrials. I think it's discovering of how much we just don't understand about our own selves, really reality. And we should always keep an open mind on it. Keep a positive stand on positivity and spread it around through the world. And let's keep looking for disclosure. Because we have to keep pushing for disclosure, and we might find it. We might get it, yeah. I hope we do in our lifetime. At least we can get a good glimpse of a UFO, right? I really, really want to see one. Up close. I want to touch it. I just want to really, really see one up close. I've seen them before. They've come around me a few times. A couple of close calls, but nothing to where it's 100 feet or 200 feet in front of me, right? Maybe a little further than that, but, I haven't seen one on the ground yet. That's what I want to see. You guys probably have the same mindset as I do. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Don't forget to catch us on 26, 28 platforms of audio. And, give us a thumbs up if you like this podcast. I really appreciate you guys for listening. I hope you guys got a little information on Disclosure and Steven Spielberg's film. Go watch it. Go check it out, man. Tell me what you think. Put it in the comments, man. Tell me what you think about the film. And I'm going to go watch it this weekend. Yay, finally. So I'm going to go check it out for myself and see what the big hubbub is. Then, when I come back on the next podcast, I'll give you my full review, but I'm not going to give you no spoilers. I'm going to give it a wow before, I want everybody to watch this, right? So anyway, all right, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Signal in the static, cold voice through the dark. Names on the blacklist, scratched into the arc. Dust on the tape deck, late night lone desk lamp, coffee stains, old case files, maps full of pinhole stamps, footsteps in the hallway, but you live here alone. You press play anyway, that the unknown speak through the tone. Oh, welcome to the alien strand, where the wild truth slips through your hands. Every story's drawn in the sand till it's carved in your mind. In your mind, welcome to the
Alien Strand Podcast.
You want to learn about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact? Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.